This is TWiT.
So you wrote about this crazy, huge partnership between OpenAI and a former Apple executive, Jony Ive. So why did they partner and what do we know about this so far?
I think crazy and huge are the right adjectives to use to describe this. This was like a bomb dropping yesterday on Silicon Valley in a good way, like a design bomb, like a hardware announcement. When's the last time we sort of got excited about one of those? So what we understand about this partnership is that it has been in the works, in a sense, for a little while now. It was last spring when Jony Ive's design firm first announced this entity called IO that was sort of partnering with OpenAI to create this next generation of devices that serve AI as we know AI now in the modern era. By the end of last year, OpenAI had taken a 23% stake in this IO, entity that existed. And then yesterday we heard that OpenAI was buying that entity outright for, something like $5 billion in equity. Wow. Essentially, it was one of the world's most expensive acqui-hires in that they were hiring this incredible pool of talent. But the interesting thing is that Jony Ive, while he is going to be leading the creative process of whatever hardware development, comes from this, he's still going to remain independent.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because he's Jony Ive. And I think, given his history and his background and his pedigree as a designer, and the fact that he does have this other design firm called Love From, which is something that he created when he left Apple in 2019. I think he just, he probably just wants to remain independent. It probably doesn't make sense for Jony Ive at this point in his career to become completely embedded in OpenAI, but he has really kind of structured this incredible deal for himself where he gets to work closely with Sam Altman and the team at OpenAI. He gets to have sort of design control over whatever ultimately comes out of this partnership and this merger now, but I'm sure he still has the ability to go work on other things if he would like to.
Right. And what's he most known for?
I mean, Apple.
Everything Apple. The Apple design shot on iPhone, the whole thing.
Yeah,
all those campaigns.
Yes, basically. He joined Apple in the 1990s. At some point, he became its head of industrial design, and he really helped define the sort of sleek industrial unibody aluminum era of Apple design that we really associate with the company's hardware over the past 2 decades. I mean, he's also he's British. He is known for having very refined tastes. He's very exacting. When he was at Apple, there were some reports of the fact that he had such fantastical ideas around how our devices should look and feel and how thin they should be and how parts should be glued together and all of this, that sometimes it did sort of butt up against what engineers were sort of physically able to accomplish in designing the products. But, I think we all think of Apple products as having this incredible design, and he's largely responsible for that. He was also, during his time at Apple, kind of meme-worthy. Like, do you remember was it Unapologetically Plastic, when they made a plastic iPhone and everyone was like, okay, what does that mean?
Like, it's too far.
Yeah, it was a little bit, yes. But that is Jony Ive.
Wow. So he's a legend. Sam Altman is a quickly made legend here. He's kind of like the new guard, and now they're both partnering. So what are the mix of opinions you're seeing about this? Like, are there the skeptics who are, they won't do it, they're just dreamers, they won't do anything about this? Or people who are really excited? Like, what's the spectrum?
Yeah, that is a really good question. There is certainly one potential outcome of this, which is that because of Jony Ive's incredible, background and history as a designer, that something comes to fruition here that really does feel innovative or changes the way that we use technology. And I think you could, easily argue, we could all argue that the hardware market is ripe for that kind of disruption. Mm-hmm. We've all been using, our glass slabs for a long time now. They serve us really well. They're impossible to detach from. People have, designers, technologists, engineers have toyed with different form factors now. Nothing has really taken off the way that the smartphone did. And so would it be interesting and fascinating to see something else emerge from this? Sure. And as Jony Ive, this legendary designer, and Sam Altman, with his billions and billions of dollars in venture capital and institutional funding, the right partner for this? Quite possibly. And so there's some folks who are feeling optimistic about it. On the other hand, the video that the duo released yesterday, the 9-minute 22-second beautifully produced video of them hanging out in the legendary Cafes Zoetrope in San Francisco. They talked about the new era of computing that we're entering with AI, and how technology has changed their lives. They didn't really talk about the product that they're going to build.
Right.
It was a lot of gesturing and hand waving and like, wouldn't this be great? And we don't really have a sense yet of what it is. Sam Altman has expressed ambitions in hardware before this. Jony Ive obviously produces, consumer tech designs and hardware. So, and also I think the Wall Street Journal reported late last night that Sam Altman did sort of give a speech to employees at OpenAI, giving some sketches of, some outlines, some metaphorical sketches of what this thing might be, but we don't really know what it is yet. And so we'll believe it when we see it, right? There's also that mindset, because in Silicon Valley, like, we can talk about the humane AI pin, I'm sure, Emily, what happened there, which was two former Apple employees who got together and raised a bunch of venture capital and kept promising this revolutionary device that was going to, give us an alternative from our phones, and it sort of crashed and burned. And so it's a hard problem to solve.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you're right. People have been experimenting. There was a humane pin, the rabbit pin. Glasses are really big right now. I saw my colleague is testing one AI device that kind of goes in your pocket, like almost like a pocket protector, but it's kind of like recording your voice. And so there's all this experimentation in this space right now. And it's like, what lane are these guys going to pick?
Yes, exactly. Are they going to go with a screen? Are they not going to go with a screen? Is it just going to feel like an Echo that sits, an Echo speaker that like sits on your desktop while you're working and responds to questions? Is it going to go in your car? Is it going to have biometric sensors? Like, there's so many, and what value add is there, right? Because I think what we're seeing with some of these hardware devices that are trying to capitalize on the AI moment is that they're purporting to solve a problem that doesn't really exist,
right?
And maybe are over-engineered, or in some cases even oversimplified. You also have to wonder about what happens then to the data set that is ultimately captured or generated from this kind of device. Because in a way, who owns this next wave of hardware is also the person or the entity that owns our next wave of data. Like, we're beyond the sort of sweet summer child phase of believing that technology is just a tool. All of these internet connected devices are capturing information about us and the world around us, and then processing it, and can be, sometimes misused. And so this is, it's not only can you get the hardware form factor right, and it's something that people actually want to use, but how are you approaching the amount of data that is now being taken from us and processed?
Yeah, and I think that's the big difference between when the internet was first coming up and the first version of Silicon Valley. Now they have all this baggage, and we all know all these problems, and now they're trying to compare it to like the advent of the internet, but that means, oh no, like all these problems we've gone through since then, you're just going to put us through that again. And so right. I feel like it's like that innovation period, but it's a little heavier.
It is. It totally is. It feels like, this is my personal sort of feeling about this. And so I can't project this onto anyone else, but it feels like we're sort of in this mourning phase kind of, or a correction phase from the 2010s era of tech, when we were all sharing freely and trying all of the new gadgets, and the smartphone was really doing pretty amazing things in our lives. And it's like, every time someone comes to like the funeral and is like, okay, it's time to party, there's a new thing coming out, you're sort of like, well, wait, I'm still literally processing what just happened with all of the data that we gave away. And so, and also you sort of have to ask and try to answer the question, well, then who should I trust next? Who can we trust to build this next generation of technology? And so, Jony Ive and Sam Altman with their beautiful black and white buddy photo that they put out.
It's very glossy. Like they hired a photographer. It's kind of engagement shoot vibes, honestly.
It really was. It really was. Yeah, I saw a tweet last night. I have to admit, it was like a pretty good tweet where someone said, "This is the." It said like, "You're a part of our family now," and the tweet said, "This is like what the notice that you get just before your bid on a Pacific Heights home gets rejected." So yeah, that's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah, I mean, it's all very exciting. I think it could be nice to not carry around our phones all the time. I do think you're absolutely right that there is some innovation here. Like it's not perfect. Like we're all staring at these phones. We're hunched. Like chiropractors are getting a ton of business. Like there's carpal tunnel. I mean, it's sometimes I look around on the train and I see every single person on their phone and I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
It feels like there's a next step. It would have been nice if they had hinted at what they were going to do, right?
Yes, I think so. I think there have been hints along the way, and now it's
what are your predictions?
Yeah. So Sam Altman seemed to indicate to staffers at OpenAI that it's something that you're not necessarily going to carry on your person, but might be in a more stable environment. So that makes me think something on the desktop, something that's at home, which is why I referenced, what if this just ends up being like another version of an Echo?
Yeah.
And my guess would be screenless is my thought.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend.
Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I'm just thinking, I actually had this crazy experience yesterday. I went to a brain implant company and it was totally nuts. I'm actually still processing it. It's the first time I've spoken about it, but I'm writing a piece on brain implants, and that is like the most futuristic thing I've ever seen. And it's kind of like all these devices, but you just removes the device and it's just like in your brain. And it's like, the glasses, your hands free. It's kind of like if you put these new AI glasses, but they're like in your brain and there's a whole new data set, and the data set is like your thoughts and how they map to actions and stuff. So I'm just thinking about that because I'm like fresh off of that. But I agree, if you step way back from that, there's no screen. It definitely would be hands-free, like you wouldn't be holding it. I think that's the sense I'm getting from the tech industry.
Do you is this Neuralink? May I ask, what company were you?
It was not Neuralink. Yeah, okay. It was a competitor, and it's called Synchron, and they have a much more like easy kind of installation, if you will. And so, yeah, I don't know. Like
installation, I don't know like it's window shades.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Just put a chip in my brain. Would you do it?
No, I wouldn't. We went straight to the bar after this interview. It was like, what is going on? So I definitely would need a minute, but I mean, I don't think they're going to go that far. I think they're probably many steps before that. Maybe, yeah, something that goes in your pocket. I mean, maybe it could go in your skin. That'd be crazy. We talked about wireless charging earlier on this show, but I don't know.
It's interesting when you say that about the brain implant, because if this device ultimately serves what Sam Altman's vision of AGI is, artificial general intelligence, that moment when AI supposedly will surpass human intelligence, then what does it mean to have that sort of juxtaposed directly with our human intelligence? Do you want the brain implant, and now we're taking 5 leaps ahead, do you want the brain implant that has AGI capabilities embedded in your very human, basic
right brain?
Well,
that's what he's saying. If he wants to truly achieve, like, how big are his ambitions? Because it does feel a little bit like just launching some rinky-dink pin is like a little womp, that hasn't really and even
that's like
in Echo, it's kind of like
$7 billion on. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we'll let Amazon figure that out. Like, it still can't, set a timer properly. Like, I just let Amazon do its thing with the Echo. And I don't know. We'll see. But I guess jury's out. We can take guesses from anyone who's listening.
Yeah. I often like to say that, some of these men in Silicon Valley, and it is often men,
Yes.
are just, racing to propose solutions to the problems that they have helped create. And
Yes.
so, when you think about this idea that we're so surrounded by distractions, notifications around us, screens around us all the time, or we can't let go of our phones. We're a set of human beings who had enough ingenuity and creativity to create that thing. And so we've created this, we've put it into the world. And now there's going to be a new generation of people who are selling us on solving it. And the idea of AGI is like, it's so fascinating right now. It's such a big topic of conversation, and who believes in it, who doesn't, who's calling it by a different name, when it's going to happen.
Yep.
And I would just like to remind all of these men in Silicon Valley that we're all going to die anyway, folks. So you're all still going to die. I don't know how to tell you that, but there's your yes.
That's true. That is so true.
So maybe pick your head up from your screens sometimes, and be kind to the person next to you, and go touch some grass.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone should go read your article. It is so thorough. All of your work is really interesting. So if people want to keep up with you, where can they find you?
I am on Blue Sky under Lauren Goode with an extremely long handle, because that's what Blue Sky handles are. And if you have tips on anything you're hearing around Silicon Valley, not PR pitches, you can also find me on Signal. My Signal handle is in all my bios.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.